Well, someday the high and the mighty will fall. There will be no power brokers, the wall of power will fall. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metza. There's a really incredible event going on as we speak in Duluth, Minnesota. This week, it kicked off this afternoon. Duluth Dylan Fest. We've got a couple of people that are prime movers in this great event. Things going on every day from May 21st through the 29th. We've got Zane Bale, who's coming up next, and then Tim Nelson. Tim and his brother Brad came up with this concept over 10 years ago. We're going to be hearing from both of these lovely people and playing several songs off the latest version of the Duluth Does Dylan CD during the show tonight. But first up is the prime mover, Queen Jane, approximately, Zane Bale. Zane, how are you tonight?
I'm great. Yeah, just so excited. We plan all year for this Duluth Dylan Fest, and it's hard to believe it's here. It's kind of like Christmas. So,
and how do you describe it?
Well, I like to call this the Duluth Dylan Fest is the state fair of Dylan celebrations. I don't think there's many other places. I don't think there's any other place in the world that celebrates Bob Dylan for 8 full days.
And to make this interview extra special, I finally, after a year, I've been living in Bob Dylan's childhood home in Duluth on the first floor. The Zimmermans lived on the second floor. Been renting from a big Dylan collector named Bill Pagel. So we're actually talking to you from the first floor of the Bob Dylan childhood home. And Zane, I know people are excited about it. In the last 2 or 3 days, I've had 6 different parties from around the country come out and take pictures of the house. I walk out, I have them sign the guest book, say where they're from, and date it. And then when they leave, I give them, if I like them, a free Paul Metza CD, which is kind of like the Jehovah's Witnesses in reverse. But anyway, Zane, so what happened on kickoff day today?
Well, sure, I'll tell you about that. But before we go, I just want to say, Paul, that we are capping off the Year of Dylan in St. Louis County, and we've been celebrating Bob Dylan extra special this past year from May 24th, 2021 through May 24th, 2022, and a little beyond, because it was Bob Dylan's 80th birthday last year. So we're just really excited. Today we had a really fun event at the Armory Arts and Music Center, the historic Armory, where Bob Dylan saw Buddy Holly, 3 days prior to that terrible plane crash, the day the music died. And a group called Forging Community, which is a group of blacksmith artists, started to create Dylan Gate, as we're calling it. And folks brought their pieces of metal, and they are forging together a gate. And we can't wait to see they're still working on it. So we can't wait to see when that gets finished. And it's supposed to be, we're going to try to auction it off later in the week if it all works out. And then we had a nice little tour of the Armory, at the historic Armory, which is, exciting things planned for that space. And then did a Bob Dylan tour of Duluth, including coming by, where you're recording the show. So great day. And then, tonight at 7 o'clock at the Rex, which is in Fitgers, Duluth Dylan Fest kickoff party with Dylan Fest, one of our favorites, Cowboy Angel Blue, a group of fabulous musicians from the Iron Range playing a Dylan show for us.
Well, it's good to have some Iron Range musicians on part of the week, as Dylan, of course, lived here in this house from 1941 when he came home from St. Mary's Hospital until they hiked up to Hibbing, Minnesota, where he went to junior high and high school. So it's good that both Duluth and Iron Range is represented here. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved with the Dylan Fest, Zane Bale.
Sure. Well, I got involved back in 2006 when the city of Duluth created Bob Dylan Way, which is a cultural pathway spanning 1.8 miles from the historic depot on 5th Avenue West all the way down to the historic Armory on 14th Avenue east. And my husband, Don Dass, former then city council member Don Ness, who went on to become mayor of Duluth for many years, and then the late Steve O'Neill, a fabulous community organizer in the Duluth area, got the city of Duluth to create the Bob Dylan Cultural Pathway. And they got it passed, and a Bob Dylan Way was created, but we needed to raise private dollars and create signs. And I'm a fundraiser by trade, and so I got involved with a group of other folks, and we were successful in raising the private dollars and worked with some out there advertising and a group of people to create those cool signs that you see along the pathway in Duluth on Bob Dylan Way. Then, in 2007, when we finally got enough money and got the signs printed, we had a party at Fitger's, and it was so much fun. We decided to do it again and again. And then in 2011, Brad Nelson and Tim, Brad had the idea of expanding the fest for a whole week. And throughout all of this, we worked really closely with the folks up in Hibbing, which was the Hibbing Dylan Days that ran through 2014. And so we coordinated our work, our plans, and then, unfortunately, with the closing of Zimmy's restaurant in 2013, the Hibbing group just didn't have the energy after 2014 to keep the fest for their Dylan Days going. And so we took on one of their signature events called our Singer-Songwriter Contest, which we can talk more about in a little bit. So, yeah, I've got a long history with the Duluth Dylan Fest, but it's a village. We have a great team of volunteers. We're all volunteers, and we just do this because, we're just really thrilled that, Bob Dylan grew up and was born in Duluth, and we just get to be a part of celebrating Bob Dylan and the fabulous artists that are from here or visit here and want to be a part of the festival.
Jay Gabler, the new entertainment writer for the Duluth News Tribune, did a great full-page article last weekend on the event. And getting back to the metalwork, Dylan now has been welding things for the last several years. In fact, there is a gate that opens down at the Bob Dylan Center that Bob created. And, I told Jay at the top of the article, I said, Bob's welding now. I said, there's nothing more Iron Range than that. Mm-hmm. And then he asked me later on in the article how he goes, Duluth and the Iron Range have always kind of blown hot and cold on Bob Dylan. And I said, really, that's those people that still refer to him as Bob Dylan. It's those people, but people my age and younger, including all my nieces and nephews, we all adore Bob Dylan. So I think if Bob was here, he'd feel the love.
Absolutely. We've done a lot of work over the years just to kind of demystify that myth that Bob Dylan, doesn't really have connections to the Northland, and we've seen it in his writings, we've seen it in his music, and we're just really excited about that we celebrate Dylan for this, like I said, state fair of Dylan celebrations, and people come from all over the world, all over the U.S. and Canada, and we're just excited. I know with COVID-19 pandemic, people haven't been able to travel as much, and with this year's fest, we're just asking everybody to be careful and put on a mask. We're going to have some great free masks and stickers available, and just want people to be safe out there.
And let's talk about some of the other events taking place during the Dylan Fest week in Duluth, Minnesota. The Zenith City by the Unsalted Sea.
Yes. We have virtual events and we have in-person events. And so, people can, join us, from listening to the Highway 61 radio show that you were on last week, Paul, on the North 103.3. On Sunday, we're having an acoustic jam over at Earthrider, led by Leslie Black, and you can bring your voice and your instruments and just jam at Earthrider. And then on that night, it's not on wasn't on our poster, but it was a late breaking event. Jeff Slate from New York, he's a musician, singer, songwriter, writer for the Rolling Stone. He is doing a live stream Bob Dylan birthday party at 6:30 p.m. On our Duluth Dylan Fest Facebook page. And then on Monday, we'll be back over at the Cedar Lounge Earthrider for a Bob Dylan trivia night, and then a listening party for Andy and Renee and Hard Rain. They're a group of incredible musicians from LA. We're going to be live streaming them on YouTube from 7 to 8:30, and they have been doing a Dylan Fest in LA for 30 plus years. And we had Andy and Renee as part of the Year of Dylan in October to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the North 103.3 radio station Highway 61 Revisited show. So that is just leading into May 24th, Bob Dylan's birthday. The 81st birthday. We're having our annual front porch party. Greg Taberzi is going to be playing there at Dylan's childhood home from noon. We're going to have cupcakes, and I heard maybe you're going to be playing there.
Word has it that myself and my harmonica player of 23 years, Sonny Earl, will be performing on my front porch along with you guys at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's going to be streamed on the Dylan Fest website. Give us the URL for the Dylan Fest website.
www.duluthdyllanfest.com. But I think the live stream we're going to just do from Facebook, probably, I'm thinking.
Okay. And then Sonny and I are also playing the next night. We're doing a nod to Bob, playing Dylan classics as well as folk and blues tunes that has influenced Bob, and as well as Paul Metza and Sonny Earl originals at the Barrel Room, which is 600 East Superior Street across from Fitker's Brewhouse, from 8 to 10. And I believe you also have, tell us about Peter McKenzie, who you were doing.
We're doing a John Bushy Memorial Lecture Series. John Bushy was an amazing person. He was the host for over 25 years of the Highway 61 show. He was a educator, an environmentalist, and a Dylanologist, and a magician. So when John passed in 2018, we worked with his family to create the John Bushy Memorial Lecture, and we're very excited to have Peter McKenzie, author of Bob Dylan on a Couch and 50 Cents a Day, live on Zoom. And so you can find out how to participate on that. It's from 6:30 to probably about 7:45, 8 o'clock. On Wednesday, and then, head on down to, if you live in the area, to Fitker's Brewhouse to see Paul and Sonny. And then that Thursday, May 26th, we're going to be over at Earthrider Festival grounds for the Freewheelin' Duluth Does Dylan CD show, which I know you're going to talk more about in a bit. And then our Friday night is our singer-songwriter contest, and we're super excited. We have 17 contestants coming from around the state and region, and I heard somebody's coming from Prague. So it's a songwriter contest where folks are just judged. We have a panel of judges who are judged on their original song and then play a Dylan song just to celebrate Bob Dylan's birthday. And then we're rounding out the next weekend, Saturday, May 28th, with John Bushy lecture with our own Paul Metza, right?
I'm honored to be a part of that. I'm going to read for 2 pieces. I have a book coming out called Alphabet Jazz, Poetry, Prose, Stories, and Songs. I have several pieces Dylan related in there. One I'm going to read. It's called Bob Dylan Highway 53 Revisited, which ties in, I believe, the 5 personas that were imbued in Bob Dylan before he went down to Minneapolis and took with him all the way to his 81st birthday. And I'm excited to do that. John was a good friend of mine, and was also had an incredible show. For those people that aren't in Duluth, you can stream the radio station every Saturday night at 5 o'clock, and I believe it's the North 103.3 FM.org is the URL for that. And then Sunday, how are you wrapping it all up, Zane?
Well, there's one more big event on Saturday night. It is the music of Bob Dylan with Dan Israel, Terry Walsh, Steve Brownsig, Joe Baumgart, and Dave Hagen, what we're calling another super group out of the Twin Cities area, and they're going to be playing a rockin' and rollin' show filled with Bob Dylan music at Sacred Heart Music Center from 7:30 to 10, and that is going to be live streamed off the Sacred Heart website. YouTube page, excuse me. And then wrapping things up the next day at Wuso's Concert Cafe, we call it our farewell brunch, with some music provided by Mississippi Mike and friends. So that's from 11 to 1, and we're all going to be exhausted and be glad we have the next day off because it's Memorial Day.
Well, you have done an incredible job, you and all of the volunteers. I want to thank you as a fan of Bob Dylan and as a new resident of Duluth to, number one, have me be a part of it. Number two, to have all these events that I can enjoy when I'm not playing. So Zane Bale, thank you so much. We're going to be listening to a little Bob Dylan next off the new Duluth Does Dylan CD. And then coming up at the second half of the show is one of the prime movers and one of the main cats behind Earth Rider Brewing, Mr. Tim Nelson. Zane, thank you so much. I'll be looking forward to bumping into you all week long.
Sure, and just visit www.duluthdillinfest.com or Duluth Dylan Festival on Facebook too.
Standing on your window, honey, yes, I've been here before. Feeling so harmless, looking at your second door. How come you don't send me no regards? You know I want your loving.
So long since a strange woman slept in my bed. Look how sweet she sleeps. How free must be her dreams. In another lifetime she must have owned the world or been faithfully wed to some righteous king who wrote psalms beside moonlit streams. I and I in creation where once nature neither honors nor forgives. I and I, one says to the other, no man sees my face and lives. Think I'll go out for a walk. Not much happening here. Nothing ever does. Besides, if she wakes up now, she'll just want me to talk.
Wall of Power Radio Hour.
Welcome back to the second set of the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metsa. I have an old friend of mine with me tonight, and one of the prime movers in the Duluth Dylan Fest. He's a musician himself, and one of the first guys that got the homebrew up and running here in Duluth with Fitker's Brewhouse 26 years ago with his buddy Rod Raymond. My friend tonight, Tim Nelson. Tim, good to see you again.
You too, Paul. It's great to see you.
Oh, it's so fun to be here in Duluth now.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. I told you before you moved here, anybody who comes here actually has a real impact.
Yeah.
When they start doing stuff, the culture here is really open to new ideas and new energy, and when someone with those new ideas and energy come into it, it changes the needle.
I remember, Timmy, years ago, I mean, literally, I met you and Raymond 27 years ago when Fitker's Brewhouse opened. I believe that
September 1995.
Yeah, that was like the first brew house in in the state, wasn't it? One of the first.
Yeah, we were one of the first brew pubs for sure at that point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're, tell us a little bit before we get into the Dylan stuff about Earth Rider.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the events that are going on during Dylan Fest are taking place at Earth Rider and the Cedar Lounge, which is all kind of part of the same organization.
Yeah, so Earth Rider started in 2017 when beer was released in about October of that year, and kind of rolled forward the 20 plus years of music energy that we started over at Fitger's and at the brew house, and just continued with knowing that music builds community, brings people together, and can become an economic engine to help sell beer. Ultimately. As a musician, we all know that as musicians know that's a lot of times your job is sell more beer.
Right. And most musicians I know like beer.
It's not a prerequisite, but it is in the mix for sure. So I'm one of those, and so that was one of those things that was always a priority to continue that cultural center to what we do.
Well, I remember, Timmy, years ago, you told me, and this would have been at least 15 years ago, if not longer, you said, I envision Duluth, and then of course sister city Superior, the Twin Ports, has the potential to become a mini Austin, Texas.
Yeah, I've had those dreams.
Well,
I might have talked about it, and it was, back then I remember discussing it with a few people, you among them, it's a three-legged stool, right? You need to have the clubs.
Yeah.
You gotta have the musicians.
Right.
And then, oftentimes you can import those, you can import the talent, which you were one of them.
Yeah.
You need the clubs, and then you need the press, media, to talk about it, so people know. I mean, besides some posters hanging up, but having some media to talk about the arts and entertainment that's happening. And I think that three-legged stool has been fulfilled in the Twin Ports.
Well, and then you have the radio station formerly known as KUMD, now the North.
Yeah.
Has been very supportive. They've
Totally.
been playing my music since 1984.
Yeah.
And I just did the Highway 61 Revisited with host Miriam, which is phenomenal. And then a little further up the road in Grand Marais, you got WTIP. So you've got that.
Yeah.
Almost the fourth leg.
Right. Well, I can count that in the third leg for sure.
Yeah.
And then you're right. KMD's always been an anchor to that whole.
Yeah.
Or the 103 North, but now is what it is.
Now, tell us about your brother Brad Nelson, the drummer. I believe he plays. Does he play with the Alan Spar Hex Band, the Black Eyed Snakes?
Yep, he's playing with them for sure.
Yeah.
The long time Duluth band Father Hennepin still playing with them as well.
Now, what about? So when did you and Brad conjure up this whole idea of having a week celebrating Bob Dylan?
I think Brad was really the brainchild of the festival. I had come up with at least a few years earlier, 3 years earlier, the Duluth Does Dylan compilation CD project that started 20-some years ago now.
And we're going to be listening to several tracks off the 2022 version of that.
Awesome.
And thank you, you and your friend Tom invited me to perform. I did Bob Dylan's Scream on that. So we're going to be listening to some of that. So keep going. Dylan, Brad.
Right. So we came up with that idea, Duluth Does Dylan. It was kind of a funny idea at the time.
Right.
We come from the indie rock, it's got a little bit, it doesn't take things too seriously all the time.
Right.
And so that was where really we wanted to promote Duluth.
Right.
And the music and what we really saw as something that was happening here that was not happening everywhere else. Having lived in, central Minnesota, for instance, Duluth is very unique in that way, in that it was that three-legged stool had been built. That we had the bands, we had the clubs, we had the media talking about it and playing the music on air.
Right.
And so that was happening here. So, okay, next step is how do we put that somewhere else out into the world beyond Duluth?
Yeah.
Because it still had you go down to Minneapolis, band from Duluth, it was a big deal.
Right,
Why is that a big deal? I didn't get it, but now it's understood. I understand.
Well, I gotta Pat, myself, my friend Jeff Maritko, who ran Mazlak's bar for years, I had a thing in 1997 called the Artist Corner, where I had about $150 to split up between 4 or 5 musicians, free burgers and beers. There used to be this guy came down from Duluth. He looked like a 9th grade geography teacher at the time.
Yeah.
He had short hair and little white rimmed glasses, and he played acoustic Delta blues on a national steel guitar. And it was a young man by the name of Charlie Parr. And I went, man, you are really good. And he would drive down, and I always carved out a little more money because Charlie would make the
driving,
make the 2-hour drive to do it. And then I believe Mazlak's was one of the first places where Trampled by Turtles performed.
Oh wow, yeah. I remember you were doing the booking back then and working real hard and bringing in that high level talent that was kind of unrecognized at the time.
Yeah,
and those were 2 of the acts that are now have proven national/international recognition, validation that you discovered, and it came out of this scene though, and that's so Duluth Does Dylan was like, how do we tell people beyond here of what's happening here?
Right.
And Bob Dylan obviously has that recognition internationally that people want to hear. They're listening to the record not for Trampled by Turtles, they're listening to it because it's Bob Dylan's music. So, and Duluth Does Dylan is huge in Germany. It's like one of our top markets for the project. So
sehr gut.
Yeah, really good. And it's been awesome. And so it's fun to see that, and then having the local musicians, and most of them are, some are international now, but having that international recognition and actually getting written about in these in these papers from around the world.
Phenomenal. I applaud you and Brad and everybody else. I mean, as you know, like Zane said, it does in fact take a village to pull these things off.
No doubt.
So now, what do you got going personally over at Earth Rider in Cedar Lounge, which is at the end of Tower Avenue at the north end, Superior, Wisconsin. Yep. Souptown, as we've lovingly referred to it as here. What do you got going on in terms of the Dylan Fest over there?
It's a few nights. There's a Dylan Jam, I think, on Sunday night. So musicians come and it's a jam session. And then Monday night's a Dylan Trivia, I believe. And then it's Monday or Tuesday. And then on, I believe, Thursday night is the Duluth Does Dylan CD release, CD celebration, because it was supposed to be released a year ago. COVID pumped the brakes a little bit on it. And so that's what's happening. Well,
you must be delighted to see over a decade later how the Dylan Fest has really expanded, and of course you're getting all these great artists that you had playing Bob Dylan music on the CDs, and then you couple with Tim, as you know, Duluth is now like the vacation hotspot.
Yeah.
If not a place to want to purchase a home, so it's such a beautiful confluence of all the right things to make a really vibrant scene.
Yeah, it's interesting. 20 years later, a little over 20 years later since the first one came out, five compilations of 15 songs each. So 5 times 15 is 50 times 75 songs released.
Right.
And everybody gets one shot at it. So Paul, I hope you got a good one, because that's your one chance.
Yeah. Well, it was just ironic. I was kind of keeping on the down low that I was living in Dylan's house, but after I got interviewed on the Blues News Tribune, knowing I was only going to be here for a few more weeks, I let the cat out of the bag. But I loved when and how do you pronounce Tom's last name?
Fab Chance.
Fab Chance.
Yeah.
When he called me to participate, I said, it's got to be Bob Dylan's Dream. Which is about Bob as a young man. And I thought it could have been more perfect for the vibe I've been living here for years. People go, oh yeah, because Dylan lived here from the time he was born at St. Mary's Hospital in 41 until he was 6 or 7. Did go to kindergarten right up the street at Nettleton School, and they said, are you inspired at all by that Dylan vibe? I go, yeah. I said, I want to ride my bike. I want to play marbles. I want to play. So tell us a little bit about you're a family man now, but you used to play a lot more regularly.
Yeah, I was playing quite a bit. You know, I didn't start playing regularly. I mean, I never played out until I was 30 years old.
Yeah.
Started Ficker's Brewhouse when I was 28, and was a living room jam session guy, and just wanted to play music, and so got like-minded people around me, and started writing songs, and being an original musician was important to me. And
And you guys didn't Brad run a magazine?
We had Brad and I, and we had he was the publisher of the Ripsaw News.
Yeah.
And the Ripsaw was around for 6 years, and it was a weekly, first a monthly independent paper, then weekly later on, and really drove that scene, I think, forward a lot, because it did record reviews. It did cultural articles about what was happening in the community, art and whatever else, and then also the venues could advertise there in its pages, and I feel it really elevated the scene through that period of time. It was blood, sweat, and tears that he and a group of people, my family, put into that endeavor. It was the wrong time for print, right? It was the end of the print world.
Right.
I still get the newspaper at home. I get 3 newspapers at home. I still like getting that hard copy, but it's a rare thing. Even the Star Tribune's trying to talk you out of getting it. Basically.
Right.
Please just get the digital version.
Like,
no, I like the paper.
Yeah, they should tell you something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like something to spill my coffee on rather than my computer.
They stack up. I read them, but
You know-
anyway, so we did that Ripsaw News, and it was one of that leg, that stool leg, and it was local artists writing for it. Obviously,
Yeah.
it was volunteer labor, people, cartoonists, and record reviewers, and people concerned about the environment, and festivals grew out of that. The Ripsaw owned the Homegrown Music Festival for a year. We started the Green Man Festival, which was around for 5 years. We had Underground Hog Day Festival, which is our February thing that we did. So it was compilation records and things that kind of drew that creative mind. I think, and
Well,
helped
I
define
think we
it.
should also give a shout out to Bob Boone, the publisher of the Duluth Reader, which has been going for 20 or 30 years, because he's very friendly to musicians in the artistic scene. I, as a guy that has known about Duluth for years, mom and dad met here, 2 sisters went to St. Scholastic, a brother went to UMD. I opened my first big show when my record Paper Tigers came out. '84, I opened up for Taj Mahal at the North Shore Theater. And then I played here, God knows how many dozen times over the years. Now living here, I was very aware of the music scene, but there's so many tentacles to the artistic and cultural scene in Duluth, with artists and craftsmen, and there's a great theater group in town. You've got the Duluth Orchestra. I mean, we've got everything we need here.
Yeah, we truly got everything we need. And moving back to Duluth as an outdoor sports enthusiast, I always go abroad or out of Duluth and say name an outdoor sport that you can't do in Duluth.
Right.
No one can. Base jumping. I'm like, you can. There's people who've done it, gone up to Ely's Peak and jumped off. I wouldn't do it myself.
Right.
Or maybe Split Rock or whatever.
Have you tried surfing on Lake Superior?
I have.
Really?
Yeah, it's very cold.
Yeah.
But and you nearly drown when those waves crash on you. But it's a really unique spot.
Right.
And it draws all these different people that have adventure in their soul.
Right.
And I think that drives the artists and the singer-songwriters and the people that are trying to create things. We have really long winters, so you kind of hold up
Yeah.
in basements or wherever you do your craft and art. It's just for a small town, in a smallish community, we create a lot of things here.
I'm talking with Tim Nelson, one of the prime movers with his brother Brad, about putting this Dylan Fest week together. Of course, he's been doing the Duluth Does Dylan CD, of which we're playing several cuts on tonight's show. So tell us, Tim, number one, congratulations and all this stuff. It's an honor to know you. But tell the Wall of Power Radio, our listening audience, could you describe, you know enough about Bob Dylan, what do you think his Duluth and Iron Range influence on what made that man, what made that great artist?
I think that the working class ethos, and I'm not a Dylanologist, which is actually, there's people that study this,
Yeah.
and I'm just a fan, producer that listens to the music and is a local like he once was. But I think the working class ethos seeps into everything, the sound,
Right.
not only the lyrics, it's real life, but it's also the sound, which has when you're from here, you kind of get it.
Yeah.
Like it's got an edge to it. It's not overly produced. It's got a real authenticity, and I think that maybe I think the place influenced him, or we've all been influenced by Bob, something, but it's something that we all carry as musicians in this town, I think forward. I think that is something that, I don't know if it's the environment that influenced him, or, I don't know how that happened, but I
Right.
think that there's a commonality amongst the art here.
Like
that way.
Patti Smith said when she performed at the opening of the Bob Dylan Center last week, and she goes, Bob Dylan is everywhere.
Yeah,
Tim, this has been such, number one, it's great to see you
me
again.
too.
And tell us, how can people find and purchase the new Duluth Does Dylan CD?
There's a website, DuluthDoesDylan.com, I believe, and
Okay.
so it may not be up there yet. No, by the time people hear this, it probably is.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that'd be the place to start.
And how far is your Earth Rider beer? It's all over the Twin Cities, I know that.
It has been, yeah. We're distributed eastern Minnesota, basically right down the middle of the state, and then western Wisconsin. So it's kind of that strip.
And if you're in Superior, go to the Cedar Lounge on the north end of Tower Avenue and enjoy those delicious beers and some really good soft drinks as well. And if you're lucky enough, there might be an outdoor show under the tent. It's a wonderful facility. Tim, great to see you again. And I'm sure we will bump into each other this week during the Dylan Fest.
No doubt, Paul. Great to see you.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, man.
While riding on a train going west, I dreamed a dream for to take my rest. I dreamed a dream that made me sad, concerning myself and the first few friends I had. With half-dimmed eyes, well, I stared to the room where me and my friends spent many an afternoon. Where we got together, weathered many a storm, laughing and singing to the early hours of the morn. By the old wooden stove where our hats were hung, our words was told and our songs were sung. Where we longed for nothing, we were satisfied, joking and talking about the crazy world outside. heat and cold. We never thought we would get very old. We thought we could sit forever and fun. But our chances were about 1,000,000 to 1. As easy it was to tell black from white, as easy it was to tell wrong from right. And our chances, they were few, and the thought never hit. The road we traveled would never shadow or split.
Thanks for listening to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. The show is produced by Paul Metza, engineered by John Supersonic Servisto. We listened to 3 songs during this episode: Temporary Like Achilles by the Slamming Doors, I and I by Oregon Creek, and Bob Dylan Stream by yours truly, Paul Metza. You can find them all on the Freewheelin' Duluth Does Dylan CD, engineered and produced by the great Tom Fabchance. Follow what's going on up here in Duluth for Dylan's birthday week at DuluthDylanFest.com. Happy 81st birthday, Bob. Sonny Earl and I will be at the Fitker's Brewhouse Barrel Room on Wednesday night, the 25th of May from 8 to 10, doing a nod to Bob. And like my dad used to tell me, remember to be kind and make someone happy.